What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be showing you how to do an oil change on a 2007 CBR1000RR. So only things you're really going to need is 3 quarts of oil. I use Mobil 1 Racing 4T. It's 10WD-40 oil. I use a K&N oil filter. I like it. It's a little easier to get off because you have that little tab, which takes a 17mm socket or wrench, and the oil pan bolt itself takes a 12mm socket. And of course you're gonna need a funnel, shop rag to catch anything else. Try not to stain this concrete as much, and then oil pan. Afterwards I'm gonna be taking a magnet and running it through the oil just to see if there's any shavings that I can get up. It's been about 25 to 2,800 miles since my last oil change. First things first, we got started and let it run for about 2 minutes. All right, now I like to go ahead and start with the drain bolt first. The main thing you want to do is just crack it just enough. That way it starts to kind of slowly seep out. Now be careful of these headers. They are freaking hot. Once I get this bolt out, that's when I go ahead and take the fill cap out. That way it just gets a little bit better airflow, helps it flow out a little bit quicker. As you can see, that's some pretty dirty oil. All right, well, that's on its way. We're gonna go ahead and take the oil filter off. 17mm socket. Some people like to put aluminum foil over this, that way it catches it while it's dripping. I'm not really too picky. I'll wipe it off and it'll burn off all right. Just be aware you're never going to get it 100% clean, obviously, unless you actually take the engine apart. So there's always going to be some residual dirty oil inside. And a lot of people notice that once you refill it with the new oil, sometimes it gets dirty almost after, you know, the first ride. So that's one thing you don't really want to worry about as much. The main point is to change the oil. While the rest of it's dripping out, I'm going to go ahead and add some oil inside of the oil filter. And it's common sense, you probably heard this a lot already, just make sure you don't turn this too tight. You don't really want to use any sort of sockets just because you get a better idea of the tightness with your hands. A little bit more sensitive. Next, go ahead and take a look at your crush washer. They say you want to change this out every 2 to 3 oil changes. I've never changed this as long as I've had it. As long as it doesn't leak, it's good to go. Same thing with this, you don't want to install it too tight, but make sure it's on there. All right, next step in the process is to go ahead and fill it up with oil. It's finally starting to creep up, so we'll just keep an eye on it as we continue to pour. A little over the halfway mark in the window. It's about where we're going to keep it at. Now, the next thing to do is to go ahead and put your cap back on. And now we start it up and let it warm up. Once the bike gets up to about normal operating temperature, you're gonna go ahead and let it sit for about 10 more minutes. You're gonna allow most of the oil inside the engine to sink down at least enough for so you can get a reading. The oil level you're gonna see now is gonna be a little bit more accurate. It's gonna give you a better idea of if you need to add more oil or not. While I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna go ahead and take this magnet. It's not a big magnet, it's just a tiny one. And I'm gonna run it in circles in the oil and see if we can pick anything up. And look, it's a machine, there's metal on metal contact, it's very hot, it's a lot of friction. You're gonna have some tiny particles, all right, and that's gonna be okay. You can see the magnet picking it back up. But that's not a lot. Looks pretty good to me. As you can see, the oil is slowly starting to creep back up in the window. We still got about 5 more minutes. We'll let it do its thing and then we'll come back. And if we need to add more, then we'll add more. In the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and pour this oil back into each container. That way I can go ahead and take it back to O'Reilly. Not bad. Little worse. Tolerable. As you can see, the oil level is still a little low. That means most of the oil that we just put in there, even though it showed full in the window, it had time to go through the filter, through the oil pump, and the entire engine and kind of place itself out where it needed to be. We'll go ahead and add what we need. Now I'm gonna go ahead and run it one more time after the second fill up, just to double check and make sure this is where it needs to be. As you can see, the oil is back to the halfway mark, which means we are good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest of this oil back to O'Reilly's, and they have a recycling center there. You'll just give it all to them. They'll pour it in a big bin, and then oil will be shipped and taken wherever it needs to go. But while I'm there, I'm gonna also buy another quart, just so if I need to add some, top it off at some point, then I can, you know, I don't have to really worry about it. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. One more thing. Recently, I replaced my manual cam chain tensioner because it was getting a little rattly, a little bit too noisy for me, at least for me to be comfortable while riding it anyway. So I went ahead and replaced that, and so far that's solved the problem. It sounds a lot better. Actually, I'll go ahead and upload a video of the way it sounded before and the way it sounded after. Tell me if you can hear a difference. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful in some type of way. You guys have a good day. Peace.